to get messy.
No shit. You thought you were gonna be some great savior? You can't even save yourself.
So it's Super Bowl Sunday and we get a brand new trailer for the Thunderbolts where it's pretty much confirming that the Void will be the main villain of this movie. First of all, we have Valentina going off about how the Avengers are no longer here to save them, which is pointing towards after the events of Endgame, there has been no new group of Avengers, which they will be coming after Captain America Brave New World because it's rumored that Sam Wilson will be making a new team after that. But at the moment, there's no heroes around to stop this destructive force that is attacking New York City, which can be seen from this black darkness overtaking the city, turning people into shadows, is where Bucky's coming in and putting the Thunderbolts together. He's captured Red Guardian, Yelena, John Walker, and Ghost, and he's going to be using them to try to help save the city. But the one thing is, a lot of people have asked, how would these characters be going against the Void, an unstoppable force that takes some of the strongest Avengers to go against? Well, they talk about it here, how none of these characters have the power of flight. How would they fight a character that can fly? And pointing towards a lot of people's kind of questions about this film, how these characters would go against such a strong enemy. And I think what they're going to end up doing is that in this movie, they won't be able to take him down by conventional means. But we'll talk about that in a moment when we break down who the Void is and who the Sentry is in the comics. Now, I think Bucky is actually going after the group once they break Bob out of the facility he's in, trying to stop them because he knows that this character has been locked away because of how powerful he really is, and he was sent to try to recapture him before he'd be set loose on the city. We also see these ominous shots of this character with a cape covered in darkness flying above the city, which would be another indication of the Void. Even having a scene where he yeets Red Guardian out the window, which could be teasing that Red Guardian might actually die in this film. We already know that Taskmaster is barely in this trailer, which means that she most likely gets taken out at some point in the film as well. We also see that Bucky gets his arm ripped off as he tries to take on the Void, and it's really showing how much of a threat this new villain is going to be. However, this group is coming together to try to save the city. You can see them walking towards the darkness in the trailer as Yelena takes front and center stage, as she's the one that seemed to be trying to maybe connect with this monster to calm him down. So this trailer was pretty much to set up that the Void is coming and confirming that. At least that's my suspicion of what's going on, because Robert Reynolds is the Sentry and the Void from the comics, and he's a major character in this movie. Where in the comics, the Void is a dark and destructive entity that bonded to Robert Reynolds when he became the Sentry. And the Sentry is that Superman-like character who has superhuman strength, durability, flight, energy absorption and manipulation, and a healing factor, and a bunch of other powers, but pretty much he's insanely strong. But because of his broken psyche, he can be the Sentry or the Void. If the Void takes over, that destructive force is all of the negative aspects of the Sentry. One of the things he could be trying to doing is reach out to Robert, connect with him so that the Sentry could take over once again. And I feel like that's the only way these characters could potentially beat this villain, because of how powerful he is and how these characters do not have the superpowers or strength level to really deal with him in a full frontal fight. Now, normally the Void is capable of destroying Earth and possibly the entire universe, which you have Robert normally in the comics fighting constantly inside himself to keep the Void at bay. Every time the Sentry uses his powers, the Void comes out. So he always has to constantly fight it so that this destructive force will not destroy the universe. Now, one of the things is the Void is his eternal nemesis, which is also born from his own psyche. So this whole film seems like it's going to be focused on Robert trying to fight his psyche. And when they break him out of the facility he is in, which could possibly be holding him back so that he doesn't use his powers so the Void does not come out, as he breaks out, it could flip a switch where he's not prepared to fight back against his psyche, and the Void is able to take over and start attacking New York. And that's most likely what we're going to be seeing here, as someone has planned and sent the Thunderbolts there to get him out, which was all a plan to release this destructive force. And I'm very curious to see what is going to be happening, because as we see the people getting kind of wiped off the Earth from this black darkness that's overcoming New York, it could be the power that the Void has called molecular kinesis. It's a matter and energy manipulation ability that the Sentry has, but a slightly different version for the Void, which in the comics he was able to entrap the Avengers with an inescapable shroud of black matter that he conjured up, which is exactly what looks like is happening in New York as this darkness is taking over the city. And instead of maybe punching the bad guy, it's going to be more of trying to reach to their deeper levels, because every one of these characters on this team has a broken past and has had to deal with their own problems and overcome it. So this is definitely a way for them to deal with the Sentry, the Void, and helping him overcome his internal demons and becoming a better person. So I'm very curious to see how they're going to portray this, because you know, we don't actually see a lot of the Sentry in the comics. He has recently come back in recent years, but for a while, he just wasn't around. Like, no one had heard of him, and then he eventually came back. So I'm curious to see how they're going to implement this super powerful character with a very complex story of him having to deal with his psyche, with both him being the Sentry and the Void could come out at any moment. And I think it's going to be interesting what to do. I think this is going to be a fun film. I really like the dynamic of the Thunderbolt characters. I mean, of course, having characters that just have the same powers on the team seems very pointless. Regardless of the powers, I think the way these characters act, their personalities, and the way they're going to bounce off one each other is going to be a lot of fun. And I'm also just curious to see Bucky interact with Yelena and him interact with John Walker again after Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's a new trailer. Let me know if there's any other things you noticed during that trailer and any theories you have to go with the new Thunderbolts movie, because with the Thunderbolts movie also having an asterisk and the fact that Red Guardian's the one that came up with the name and them saying we're not doing that, it definitely feels like they're going to be leading into a different name by the end of the movie. Watch at the end of the movie, they're going to reveal what their actual name is, and it could be the Dark Avengers or something along those lines, and then the end title card for the entire film will be whatever this new name is. So let me know what you think. We'll talk about it in the comments down below, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and the subscribe button. It helps out the channel a lot, and you get to stay up to date with all my Marvel and DC breakdowns. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you later.